Which phone should you buy, the Galaxy S24 or the S24 FE? We have a flagship versus a budget flagship here, and there's a few interesting things to note about these two devices in particular. So you do have on the S24 here. Now this phone you can get for the $483 price point in the used refurbished marketplace. It is going to be a little bit more expensive brand new, but you can see it's trending around the same price as a new Galaxy S24 FE, guys. So you can get this phone, you know, used refurbished marketplace like this one I have here, very good condition. And then the S24 FE you can actually get brand new. But is it worth it to get this budget flagship? Alright, so both phones have a pretty similar look. You guys can see the cameras pretty much look identical. There are some minor differences here. Obviously the size difference. The S24 is a smaller device. You do have a glossy finish on the FE, matte finish on the S24, and they both pretty much feel the same in the hand. They both, like I said, look very similar or pretty much identical hardware wise, just one is bigger. And there's like some small little changes here. Like you can see the SIM tray down there. The SIM tray is up here on the S24 FE. So yeah, so that's one difference. And then the screen is probably where you will see like the biggest difference. So both phones have IP68 dust and water resistant as well. Alright, so let's talk about the displays, because this is where you see kind of like the biggest difference here. The S24 does have a better display. It's a dynamic LTPO AMOLED display, 120 Hz HDR10 plus, 2600 nits peak brightness at 6.2 inches. We also have a 1080p resolution at 416 for the PPI and a 90.9% screen to body ratio. And then we also have Gorilla Glass Victus 2. Now the S24 FE does have a pretty good display as well, but it's not LTPO. It's only dynamic AMOLED. It's 120 Hz HDR10 plus, and then we only get up to 1900 nits peak brightness, so it's not as bright outdoors. And then we also have a much bigger panel at 6.7 inches, which could be a plus if you want a bigger phone. But it's 1080p 385 for the PPI and Gorilla Glass Victus Plus. So as you guys can see, the big difference here is these bezels are pretty massive. It makes the S24 FE look a little bit cheap in comparison to the S24. But that's not to say that the panel is a cheap panel or anything like that. It's a Samsung panel. It looks very good. So colors, you know, the resolution is fine, and it's a very sharp panel. But yeah, it does have like those thicker bezels at the bottom and top here, so you kind of get a more kind of luxury feel. And then also this is LTPO as well, so overall the S24 is just a better display. Alright, so let's talk about the processors, because this was an interesting thing. We have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, and then we have 128 gigs of internal storage, 8 gigs of RAM on this base model. And then we have Samsung's Exynos 8400E processor, which actually has been very good. It's 128 gigs and 8 gigs of RAM as well too. Both phones will get the 7 years of MageOS updates as well, and both phones are very smooth with animations, so that was like a big question. They're both very smooth and they feel virtually the same. Now, as far as your general animations and speed, they kind of feel the same. I would say that the 8 Gen 3 is still a little bit better optimized, like we'll see in, you know, with gaming, but they feel, you know, pretty much the same for the most part, guys. I don't notice, like, even opening a ton of applications, you won't notice like a lot of lagging with this Exynos processor. I know a lot of people hate the Exynos processors, but like I said, I never really get access to them, but this has been very good experience so far. I have no issues with this processor. It feels like, you know, a flagship processor, but like I said, I'll show you guys like the actual difference here. But you guys can see it's pretty much neck and neck as far as speed goes. Alright, let's launch PUBG. Bit of a heavier game. Now, your gaming performance is still going to be really good on both, but it's definitely not equal. So, I'll show you guys what I mean. See which one gets into PUBG here first. And it looks like we've got the S24 and then the FE right behind it. Not too bad. Gaming performance is going to be pretty good on the FE. I really haven't had any issues at all here. We can play at 90 frames and it's pretty smooth, no overheating problems with this Exynos processor. But we do have better gaming settings and better optimization on the 8 Gen 3. It can play at 120 frames on PUBG, so if you're more of a competitive gamer, then you're probably going to go with an S24 here for sure. Alright, let's go ahead and check out the speakers max volume. So I'm definitely going with the S24 here. The S24 FE speakers don't sound bad, but it just doesn't sound as clean as the S24 speakers. It just sounds like a lower quality speaker. They're both pretty loud. Yeah, but it just sounds like just a lower quality speaker. So the S24 for me, definitely. Now, as far as the fingerprint scanner situation, you do have the ultrasonic, which is another difference, you know, with the having an actual flagship. It's a little bit faster than the optical fingerprint scanner, which works, but you see it, if you tap it like lightly, it won't like register. But you can kind of, you know, just put a little bit of pressure on it, so it's not like a big deal. It works really well though. Numbers are going to be the biggest deciding factor here when it comes to this comparison. So on the S24, we do have a 50 megapixel standard, 10 megapixel telephoto with 3 times optical. This can go up to 30 times zoom. We also have a 12 megapixel ultra wide. You can shoot in 8K 24 and 30 with a 12 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. Now on the FE, we have a similar setup. It's a 50 megapixel standard, 8 megapixel telephoto, also with the 3 times optical, 30 times zoom. And then we also do have a 12 megapixel ultra wide. This can shoot in 8K 30, and then we also have a 10 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. So check out these side-by-side stills. Let me know what you guys think. Pretty interesting thing here, the battery life on the S24 is very good, and so is the S24 FE. So I don't think this is actually a major concern for, you know, people in this comparison. You have very good battery life due to this chipset, and then also the LTPO display is also helping there as well. So it has a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. The charger is kind of slow at 25 watts. It's wireless and reverse wireless charging. You have a much bigger 4,700 milliamp hour battery, but remember you have a bigger display, and you have 25 watt charging as well, and then the same wireless and reverse wireless charging. Battery life is excellent on both of these phones. Standby time is very good on both. It is a very good battery life experience, so I wouldn't necessarily worry about which phone has the better battery life because they are very similar. So in conclusion, I mean, it really depends on what you want here. If you want like a real flagship, or if you want to save money, you get a new phone, and it comes down to what you thought about the cameras. Do you play PUBG? The speakers? The overall, the S24 is better, but it just comes down to, do you want to buy in that used refurbished marketplace, or do you want to spend a little bit extra money to get, a flagship like this? So be sure to let me know what you guys think.